Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Mindfully Aligned. I'm your host, Adanze Benjamin, and thank you all so much for joining me today. I have a lot of thoughts. This episode is really about the collection of things I've been thinking about over the past week, something I've even mentioned to my therapist, and I think that we can all resonate with it. So thank you for tuning in. Let's get into it. I think that as a collective, we need to mind the business that pays us. I know we've all heard that before, mind the business that pays you, but it's true. And I don't think that we realize how important that is. And I've been thinking about it for the past few months, but I think that this was really my theme of the week. Do you ever feel so exhausted in life that you don't have energy even for the things that are important? Like things that you prioritize or things that you love? Like going to the gym, getting your nails done, hanging out with friends. All of a sudden, you are so exhausted, like your battery is so drained where even the things you enjoy sound so unappealing. You think like, I just don't have time for that. Like I just can't do it. Like everything just feels it's too much. I was in that spot in the fall. It's like when everything I love felt so draining, even like making time with friends, socializing, working. When you get to that place, that's when you're in trouble. And that's when you know, that's that feeling I talk about of being out of alignment. And a lot of it has to do with putting your attention in the wrong places. Because I think of humans as a battery in this analogy, and you are lending your attention to the wrong things so that when something important comes up or something you like to do comes up, you have no energy left for that thing. And that's the spot that I was in the fall, where I was stretching myself too thin. I was volunteering myself for too many things. I was caring about too many things that honestly, like I didn't need to be paying attention to. I didn't need to be worrying about. And I had no battery left. I had no energy left for the things I knew I needed to lock into. And so I really just want to get into the power of your attention. You have to intentionally put your attention, that sounds like a tongue twister, to things that are fulfilling. For example, your work, strengthening healthy relationships, personal goals. Obviously, these are things that we have to put in effort for. And yes, that's going to deplete our battery, but those are things that are fulfilling. They're going to give back to us, and that's how we get replenished. You want to turn your attention away from things that are dead ends, like toxic relationships, other people's business, things like that. Things that when you pay attention to them, it can be exhausting. When you put intention into them, it can be exhausting, and you are getting nothing out of it. And I think a lot of us get stuck in that loop about caring about the wrong things, and we're really not getting anything out of it. For example, like if you're in a talking stage or you like a guy and he's really not doing anything for you, like it's really going nowhere, you are investing a lot of your effort and attention into that thing, getting nothing back, and now you're walking around with your battery drained, and you can't even show up correctly for yourself, for others, or the things that you feel are actually important. And we have to really consciously check ourselves and kind of do an audit about what are the things that I'm paying attention to? What are the things that I care about? What are the things that have been on my mind today? And do I really need to think about them? Because the truth is, we have a limited amount of energy and attention. Like you might think that, oh yeah, like I know that this talking stage is not going anywhere, but like it's whatever, like it's not affecting me at all. Like I feel fine. The truth is we really are limited in our energy. So I don't want to get into like a woo-woo kind of spiritual sense, but we have a finite amount of attention and energy. So you are lending that out in that situationship or, catering to that toxic friend you might have. And you might think it's fun in the moment, but you don't realize how much that's draining to you until they exit your life and you realize how much, like you get that part of your brain back. And you're like, oh my God, like I didn't even realize how distracted I was. It's very subtle and it's very sneaky, and that's why it's something we have to be conscious about. because we can really only do so many things until it feels like we're stretched thin and our mind is in 1,000,000 places. We owe it to ourselves to kind of sit and think like, what are our priorities? What am I trying to achieve this year, this week, this season? And I owe it to myself to give 100% to that thing. So why sacrifice 20% of your capacity to something that's not going to help you at all? In fact, it's just going to set you back. Like, that's just not fair. When you do the math, that's really not fair. Because that 20% can be so subtle, that 20% that we're giving to toxic friendships or to worrying about what people think or to that situationship that's going nowhere, that 20% is really missing from what you could be achieving. That 20% that you're investing in the wrong thing could go towards strengthening that friendship that you do care about, working to get a good grade in that class that you're struggling with. Really anything. That 20% can make a huge difference, even if you think it's subtle. That's like why I'm using that number. But like every bit of our attention really does count. So we have to be selfish about what we're paying attention to and make sure it's something that is giving back to us. Because when we're pouring so much attention into something with no reward, you're just going to be left feeling drained. So there are like two main things that I can think of that we as a generation need to divert our attention away from. Number one, obviously the big one, social media. Number two, things that aren't your problem. So for social media, I'm talking about like hate watching people's stories, keeping up too closely with people's lives that don't know you, don't care about you, people that you don't actually like, tuning in and being so invested in other people's lives that you are not even investing in your own. I feel like that's something that our generation, because I am a part of our generation, we just get too caught up in that world. And I think it can be so easy to be sitting down watching people achieve their own dreams, and then we're sitting on our phone watching their story, like criticizing it. What are you doing? Get up. That's the thing that kind of can drive me crazy. It's like we are so focused on what other people are doing. What is that doing for you? You see someone's posting something about, oh, they just got back with their ex. Like, oh my gosh, she's so stupid for that. Did that strengthen any of your relationships? Did that get you that A in that class? Did that help you reach that new benchmark in the gym? That didn't do anything for you. Like, that's what I'm saying. And so, like, when we let that junk and that crap of what other people are doing that has nothing to do with us take up space in our head, it's clutter. And we're not able to really focus on what's important because we're too busy thinking about what everyone else is doing. So I think a good way to get around that is to clean up our social media behaviors. How do we consume on our phone? And obviously, nobody's saying to delete the app. Like, it does not need to be that extreme. But, like, number one, I think, like, staying conscious about, like, how you're consuming things. Are you, like, watching people's stories and keeping up with their lives because you want to stay inspired, or you want to criticize them, or you want to, like, laugh at what they're doing, or whatever it is, or just know, like, be in the know about what people are doing? That's something you really want to ask yourself. So, like, when you're watching and tuning in, kind of take a second and be like, let me be a little conscious right now. What is the reason for me watching this person so heavily? And then number two, it's about kind of switching up what we want to see on our timeline, because I think that has been something that is super helpful for me, is changing my algorithm. Obviously, I'm going to be on my phone. I'm 22 years old, and I work in digital marketing. So, like, I am going to be on my phone. I'm going to be on TikTok. But how do I make that experience more positive for me? How do I make it so that when I go on my phone for X amount of hours a day, it's something that is productive and I walk out of it with my brain feeling better, or I learned something? I think people really sleep on following accounts that are super helpful. My Instagram Explore page is so many not even life hacks, like biohacking, health content, workouts. I feel like switching up our algorithm can really do us so many wonders, because even if I go on my phone to like distract myself, I'm still seeing stuff that pertains to the version of myself I want to be. I'm still seeing stuff about going to the gym. I'm still seeing stuff about health secrets and things to improve your health. I'm still seeing stuff about productivity tips and hacks and all this stuff. So, of course, when I'm watching my friends' posts, when I'm on Instagram scrolling through, I'm still seeing things that are helpful for me. And it keeps me on track and helps me keep a good mental diet. A mental diet is so key because, like, if this was written out, mental diet would be in bold. I really want to emphasize that, because the power of your attention is just one part of what your mental diet is. And I know you're wondering, like, what is a mental diet even? I'll tell you. A mental diet is what you're feeding your mind and kind of like what shape your mind is in. It's almost like a metaphor for your health. Like if you are on a diet, you are doing it to maintain a specific result physically. And so you feed yourself certain things, go to the gym. By having that diet and eating clean and treating your body right, you're even able to perform better in the gym because you're eating clean, you're fueling yourself the right way, your body is nourished, your body thanks you. Same goes for your mind. A mental diet is super important because I could even get into this, honestly, like in a whole other episode or maybe even a series, but the mental diet is super important because it fuels your mind and sets the tone for what your mentality is. If you are polluting your mind with toxic stuff on social media, you're going to start to think that way. It programs your mind to start to think that way. If you are listening to music that's only about toxic relationships, or you're only seeing toxic relationship memes on Instagram or posts on Instagram, you're programming yourself to believe that's the norm subconsciously. And then you start to show up that way in your life because of your mental diet, because of what you are quite literally feeding your mind. In order for us to switch our mentality, we have to switch our mental diet. Like if you want to switch what you look like physically, you have to switch up your physical diet. It goes the same way. So if you feel like you've been in a negative mental space, or you feel like you can't deal with life right now, like you just don't have the time for anything, anybody, anyone, you don't want to deal with it, you are in a negative mental space. How you fix that is you got to change up the mental diet. You got to get it from the source. You got to go from within. Try implementing, again, following different accounts, interacting with more helpful posts to have your algorithm feed that to you. Switch up what you're listening to. I even, in 2021, started a manifesting playlist. And all it was just songs that really embodied the person I wanted to be. So at the start of every day, I'd put that playlist on, and it just made me feel so good inside. And it helped me align myself with that. That's a small way of doing it. Listening to music that just brings you up, makes you feel good. I can probably link that playlist too. Or you can even make your own of just songs that remind you of who you want to feel like. Another thing I did too was I downloaded an affirmations app. If you haven't heard of it, it's super, super helpful. I use IAM, and I just program it to send me notifications every few hours. I even have a widget on my phone that just sends it to me. And just throughout the day, when I go on my phone, I'm seeing a positive message that aligns me with how I want to be. It keeps me on track. So yes, I'm on my phone, but I'm now making that a positive experience. And then another thing that I also do, and this is my absolute favorite, Pinterest mood boards. If you look at my screensaver on my phone, you're probably like, what is that collage? And I know a lot of people have seen it and they're like, oh my God, that's so cool. It's just my vision board for the season. I take just a bunch of cute pictures on Pinterest that embody, again, like what I want to feel for these next 3 months, or it could be a year, or, however long you want to do it. I like to do it by season because I feel like that makes the goals more attainable. So I have like a benchmark for the next 3 months of what I want to feel like, what I want to do. So I write down my goals for the next 3 months, or how I want to feel. I think about it, go on Pinterest, find some photos that align with that. And then I just make a little wallpaper on Canva, and it can be really, really cute. And so now every time I pick up my phone, I see my vision board. Number 1, it's really pretty, it's really cute, I love looking at it. And number 2, now every time I go on my phone, I remember who I want to be, what I want to do, and it keeps me aligned with that. So it makes it almost like impossible for yourself to get that feeling of being lost or off track because you are always remembering it in a way that's not like a whole lot of pressure. It's just cute and aesthetically pleasing. And who doesn't love that? And then I also, if you know how to do widgets on your phone too, I do widgets on Pinterest as well, so that throughout the day my phone is putting up these cute images next to my apps of, again, things I want to embody. My clothes Pinterest board, reminding me of how I want to dress, how I want to carry myself. My life board of how I want to feel, how I want to live my life in the future. My seasonal board of how I want to feel in the short term, in the next 3 months. And it keeps my phone looking really cute. I love looking at it. And yeah, it just keeps me on track. So those are a bunch of ways that we can turn being on our phone from being a toxic experience or something that's negative or drills us deeper into a hole into something positive and keeps you on track. So the second thing I said we should divert our attention from is things that are not our problem. This is something that requires discernment. It requires you to really ask yourself when things come up in life that you find are going to be staying on your mind. You want to ask yourself, is this really my problem? Does this really need to take up space in my mind? And that's not to say you shouldn't care about others or anything. It's just about compartmentalizing and prioritizing. Because sometimes we really need to let things just roll off our shoulders. For example, like a petty disagreement with your parents or family, someone who was rude to you, someone who did something petty to you. It's just that our attention is too precious to let that be something that carries with us. I feel like at this age also, like in college, we haven't experienced so much of life yet. So a lot of the problems that we face, it feels so all-consuming and like the end of the world. But it really isn't. Like, it really isn't that big of a deal. And like, those are the kinds of things that we need to roll off our shoulders. Like, when we were in high school, the thing that was so stressful to us, like, oh my God, so-and-so said this about me. Oh my God, did you see that she was talking to that guy I used to like? Like, that stuff, we kind of laugh at it now because it's like, oh my God, girl, like, that was your biggest problem. And I already know that in a few years, it's going to be the same thing. We're going to think about things that we thought was our biggest problem when we were in college. Oh my God, she did this, he did that, he said this. She doesn't like me, he doesn't, whatever. It's like, we're going to be like, oh my God, like, I can't believe that took up so much space in my mind. Why is that the thing that I'm really concerned about in life? And that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. Or even worse yet, things that don't even pertain to us at all. And that goes back to worrying about what other people are doing. Worrying about what other people are doing, as long as they're not like putting themselves in serious danger, it does not need to be something that is ruminating in our heads. We want to ask ourselves, like, is this just tea or is this an actual problem I need to think about and worry about? If it's tea, if it's just whatever, like, let that roll off your shoulders. Like, it shouldn't be something that takes up space in your mind because as we get older, there are just too many things in life that we have to deal with that we actually just don't have time to be worrying about that petty stuff, the small stuff. It really just doesn't matter. It's like how they say, we just really have bigger fish to fry. And it's also something that we really just have to have a conversation with ourselves over. Is this really my problem? Like, is it just drama? Am I creating drama for myself? Am I creating problems for myself? And I think that's something that we do when we're younger and at this age is possibly like create problems for ourselves. Is this something I really need to worry about? I really started to label things fake problems. That's a made-up problem. It's not real. A fake problem is something that really has no implication on your life. If that girl doesn't actually like you, does it stop your bills from being paid? Does it stop you from passing that class? Does it stop you from getting your money? No. Then I don't care. Like, that's what I'm saying. I think we really need to start being like, okay, and I don't care. It has nothing to do with me. This is because I got so busy in life that I really had no choice but to have that mindset. I actually don't care. I actually cannot care. I don't have the time to worry about this thing. And I realized that when I don't worry about this thing, it makes no difference. So what does it matter? There's a lot of things I think that I've learned are completely out of my control. How people see you, what people say about you. I really can't do anything about that. So I don't care. We can't. The things I can control: how I'm contributing in work, what I'm achieving, am I meeting my goals? How am I showing up for the people who care about me? Am I being a good friend? Have I checked up on my family? Have I caught up with my friends recently? Those are the things I should be thinking about. Because again, to round it out, those people, those things I mentioned, those things that are fulfilling, when I water them, they water me. When I put in 100% into my work, a reward comes out of it. When you put 100% into that healthy relationship, you get something out of it back. It's fruitful, it's fulfilling. When you worry about what people think about you or what that girl's doing or whatever, nothing happens. That doesn't change. Nothing happens. And your life is still carrying on, though. You still got to work. You still got to show up for other people. But you're too worried about what other people are doing, what other things are going on, things that aren't your problem. And that's what we have to step away from, because we really are so powerful when we give 100% to something. So take away whatever's taking that 20% and reinvest it into the things that really matter. And I promise you will see the results. Again, sometimes we really just have to do an audit. Like, that's sometimes all it is a matter of doing an audit. Taking stock at the things that we're thinking about in life, the things that we're prioritizing in life. Is it something that's going to give back to me? By catering to those fake friends, do you get anything out of it? Or do you want to take that energy and nourish those positive friendships? It's so exhausting keeping up with things that aren't right for you, things that aren't meant for you, things that shouldn't be important to you. It's going to drain you, and all of a sudden you're going to wonder why you have no energy for things that you care about. And it's because we wasted it on things that don't really matter. And that is really the big takeaway of this episode. It's super important at this age to take stock of the things that really matter, because, yeah, certain things do deserve our time and our concern. Certain things are valid to stress about, but ask yourself, like, do I have to stress about this thing? What's going to happen if I let it go? What's going to happen if I just let it roll off my shoulders? Does it really matter? And sometimes it really just doesn't. And let's just reinvest 100% into the things that fulfill us. Let's water the things that are going to water us, if that makes sense. The things that when you pour into, it pours back into you. When you give to it, it rewards you back. Life is too short to concern ourselves with things that don't matter, concern ourselves with things that don't care about us, concern ourselves with people who don't have our best interests at heart. It's really that simple. And when we have that conversation with ourselves, it allows us to really clear up that foggy feeling in our heads. All in all, if you took something from this episode, it's that we need to harness the power of our attention and divert our attention away from things like toxic social media and learning how to make that a healthier experience for ourselves, and take a step back from things that aren't our problem or aren't fulfilling or just aren't doing us any good. I hope that that's something we can all implement even harder this week. If you implement any of those social media tips or tricks on your phone or make a manifesting playlist, please share with me. Let me know how you like it. Let me know if you feel any of the difference. I know you definitely will if you try it. And yeah, thank you guys so much for listening to today's episode. I'm super excited for next week. I have a guest that I'm super happy to have on. We are going to have the most amazing conversation. She and I are so hyped. Yes, I said she. I'm also super excited about having a woman on the show. So be sure to tune in next week on Mindful Monday, and you will not be disappointed. Again, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. Be sure to like, comment, share. Thank you all so much for the love, and have an amazing week. Thank you.